In today's video, we're going to talk about how 2021 can be the year that you start your business. What's up, fam? Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, CMH, founder of StartupU. StartupU is an interactive learning platform for online business owners. Before we get started today, make sure you guys like this video, hit subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and don't forget to leave me a comment below. Now, you're going to want to definitely hit the bell for notifications because this is going to be a series that we're doing. We're going to help you start your business in 2021. Make this the year that your New Year's resolution you come through on, right? 83% of people give up on their New Year's resolutions by February. So be part of the 17%. Follow this series. We're going to help you do that. We're going to conclude this series with an actual class. You're going to get access to a class that I'm going to host for anybody that wants to join. It's 100% free. You can go to Learn with CMH to register for that. Learn with CMH. That link is included below. Okay, let's get started. Let's talk about how to come up with your idea. Okay, so I think a lot of people make this a little bit too complicated, right? I think they think that they have to have this ridiculous, fancy offer, right? And it's got to be the sexiest thing they've ever heard of. It's got to be the new Facebook or the new Uber or the new Airbnb, right? And if you really break those concepts down, right? Obviously, the iteration that they're at now, it is become glamorous, but it's only because they've made it that they've become glamorous, right? Uber is hitchhiking with a smartphone. Like, that wasn't conceptually this grandiose idea. It was just, hey, what if other people drove people instead of taxi cabs driving people? It's a pretty simple idea. Facebook is just giving people a platform to communicate. It was like an enhanced version of AIM from back in the day, right? It really wasn't that profound of an idea. Human connectivity is not this new thing that just entered into the world because of Facebook, right? It existed before. It just was a new modality. So we want to look at the core essence or the core problems that exist in the world, right? What are the things that you see in your daily life, right? And it could be as simple as, you don't have a dog walking service in your neighborhood. My first business was a moving company. And people were like, oh, that's not sexy or glamorous at all. I went to college and, did well and what have you. And then I'm starting a moving company, right? It's like, okay, I don't get it. Well, we saw an issue. We saw a problem. We saw college students, specifically females, that their parents and they themselves didn't want to have middle-aged blue-collar men, for right, wrong, or indifferent, coming into their apartment, because they didn't feel safe and secure. So what if we provide a service where students come in, their peers come in, right? Their classmates come in and move them instead. And so what we found is that business took off because we found a problem and we had a solution. There was product market fit and it ignited that growth. We went from launch to $1.2 million in 36 months. Rapid time on that growth because we found a blue ocean. We found in that specific market of only 110,000 people, total population in that small college town, we found that we were able to still grow a 7-figure business in that rapid time. So you can imagine, even if you think your idea is small, even if you think that there's a problem that you came across, it's like, that's not glamorous. Nobody wants that. Don't diminish the value of you finding something that is a problem in the world and you have a solution that either you yourself can provide or you're going to facilitate that solution being provided through some kind of a service that again, even something like Rover, right? Rover, you can book a dog sitter through the app, right? But honestly, a lot of these concepts, they start with somebody just taking phone calls and having a bank of people, right? A list of people that they call and say, hey, I've got somebody who needs a dog sitter. Can you do it? Right? So don't overcomplicate things. Just first find problems. So what I would do if I were you is go throughout your day and just take note of the problems that you experience, right? Start with scratching your own itch. What are the problems that you have? What are the big inconveniences that you experience? Oftentimes, not only is it going to be something that you find traction with, but you're also going to have a deep passion for it because you've experienced that problem maybe to such a degree that you're just fired up about the solution, right? You really understand the solution. You understand the problem to such a degree that maybe other people won't have that same experience, right? So sometimes people try to come up with this cute and fancy idea, but they have no real knowledge or they have not really felt the significance of the pain for not having that solution to be able to do something really viable about it. So you will have that if you're scratching your own itch. One of the greatest things that I read to validate that was in the book Rework by the guys at Basecamp. They talked about that. They talked about the success rate of businesses that literally just scratch your own itch. It's one of the most successful routes you can go. So take your list, write down problems you experience, let it marinate, right? Take 6 months and just notate things you're experiencing. And maybe what you find is that one of those, it feels right, feels like the one you want to pursue. And then next step, maybe you whittle it down to 3 to 5. Next step, you want to look for this. All right. So for one, does it solve a $10,000 problem? Right? Because we really want to make sure that it overall, cumulatively, solves a $10,000 problem. Now, that may go back against what I just said, because I talked about how it can be a basic, simple iteration, and it doesn't have to be the big fancy thing. And so you're thinking, wait, how does that? So let's think about it. Let's think about it this way, right? If you were to scale it out, does it solve a $10,000 problem, right? So there are some things that no matter how many people you reach, it's just there really isn't. There's not a lot of utility there, right? So we're looking for potentially mid to high levels of utility, right? So think about the moving company, for example. That's a perfect example, right? So people need to move. They have to move. In some cases, they can't do it themselves. So there's always going to be a market for that. There's always going to be people that are willing to pay for that. People have to eat food, right? Like they have to, or they'll cease to exist. So I'm not saying go start a restaurant, but that's a high utility business. You know, find places where the money is always going to flow. Another simple yet robust example would be the coffee sleeve, right? You know, some guy invented, I believe it was a guy. I'm making an assumption here. I think I had heard it was a man. Okay, I think, but a little piece of cardboard that goes on your coffee cup so it doesn't burn your hand, right? That's cost maybe pennies, right, to provide that. But think about the amount of them and the frequency, but also the utility it provides to just protect people from burning their hand, right? So it fixes a problem, and cumulatively speaking around the world, it probably does solve a $10,000 problem. So it's going to be a bit subjective to figure out whether it does or it doesn't. I trust your discretion to be able to figure out, I just don't think anybody would pay for that, right? I really don't. So the last thing I want you to do as far as checking off your idea is think about something that I just said. So utility one, frequency is the other, right? And I would literally draw a little scale and put frequency, utility, like an XY axis. You want to figure out where you fall on that map, right? On that grid, where do you fall? So moving company, high utility, low frequency. People don't move very often, right? So it was a very high utility service. We did charge a significant amount of money to do that. It was hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and in many cases, thousands of dollars. So it was high utility, right? A home builder is high utility. Real estate agent, high utility, right? So these are all things that a doctor, a therapist, right? Things that you pretty much can't do yourself, right? I don't think you can go in and remove a kidney stone on your own. And if you can, please let me know how you did that, because it's probably worth in itself a business pursuit, right? So think about things that pretty much only you are qualified to do, but really solve a significant problem in the world or help someone in such a way that's very, very profound. Now, ideally, you would also have frequency. So frequency is literally just what it sounds to be, right? The amount of time and the velocity of which you use that particular product or service, right? So social media is a great example of high frequency. The average person checks their phone 120 times a day. Most people are spending 45 minutes at least on social media every single day. So you're checking your Twitter feed or your Facebook feed, or you're on Instagram, or you're uploading a new story or whatever. They've created it to be where you're using it in a high frequency level. Now, again, the utility is subjective, right? Whatever utility it provides to your life, but it's such frequency and it's such far reaching that they can accommodate a very, very attractive business model and make ample money in return for doing such, right? Looking at something like Uber, I would say Uber is more of both high frequency and high utility, which is why it was the golden goose to invest in and why they've secured so much investment dollars. Because you have people, primarily people who live in cities, it's a kind of a pain to have a car and find a place to park all the time and, have all the traffic they have to fight and stuff like that. And, even some places you have to pay $500 a month just to have a parking space. So for them, it's more financially feasible to just walk, ride a bike, or this new thing, Uber, where they can literally just signal somebody whenever they want from the convenience of their own phone. So that's high utility because they have to get to the places they need to go to. Thinking about places like New York, they've got to go 12 blocks. Well, you probably don't want to show up to your meeting all sweaty and gross. So of course you're going to take an Uber, and you can use it multiple times a day, which is where the frequency aspect comes in. So that's one where it accommodates both. So I would literally take your ideas, 3 to 5, what problems are in your life, and let's go check them off. Does it solve a $10,000 problem? And where do you lie on the frequency and utility scale? Okay. Last thing I'm going to give you as far as validating after you come up with some ideas is to sit down and have at least 10 conversations, in-depth conversations with people that are potential customers for your product or service. Now, I don't want this to be mom, dad, brother, cousin, neighbor. I want this to be people that are actual potential target customers for whatever your service entails. So you're gonna have to go a little bit outside of your comfort zone potentially. But honestly, I think just posting something on social media and saying, hey, I have an idea. I would love some feedback. I promise you this, when you ask for people their opinion on something, as you can see, I'm guessing most people are willing to give that to you, even if you just say, hey, I'll give you a $5 gift card to go buy a cup of coffee, right? More than likely people in your extended network or in somebody else's network will reach out and say, yeah, that really sounds a lot like me. So give them a little bit of a clue as to what you're going to ask about. Don't reveal too much. Just say, I need feedback. I'm working on this new thing. I'm willing to, give you a $5 gift card. I promise you people will gladly and readily make themselves available to do that. Make it 10 to 15 minutes and just ask them specific questions like, what's your single biggest challenge when it comes to X, whatever your idea entails, right? That specific market. Ask them about the value it provide to their life. Really get in the trenches as far as that problem that they experience. Would they be willing to pay for something like this? Let them talk. Zip your mouth just for a minute. Don't dictate where the conversation goes. Let them just reveal, ask very open-ended questions so they can continue to elaborate on some of their thoughts, feelings, and concerns. I would recommend that you record these conversations so you can go back and watch them so you can glean maybe more insights that you missed the first time around so you can really focus on asking the right questions. But what you're doing here is you're going to validate some of the assumptions, but also too, you're going to look for some of the objections that people have. If you think that you're going to sell your product or service for $500, but the conversations you have indicate that people are really willing to pay $50 to $100, well, you might have some disconnect. Now, the problem is most people, what they do is they go out, they launch it anyways, they charge whatever they think they want to charge. I want to charge $500. Well, what ends up happening? They go out, they create sales pages and marketing assets and all these various things, but the market dictated far less, right? And so what ends up happening is they think it's a crap idea, they give up on it, they move on. It was just something they tried one time, right? So these conversations are going to allow you to figure out, is there a market for this, right? Is it a problem for me? Is it a problem for other people? And if it is a problem for other people, what are some of the nuance as it relates to that specific problem as they experience it? Is it similar in many ways to the problem that I experienced? That's going to allow you to take that information and eventually extract it out and scale that at some point when you're able to take their insights, literally put it into your sales and marketing material, figure out and get your first few sales, use your network to make a first few sales. And then eventually what we can do is we can start taking those efforts online to scale that out further, right? So this is the process by which we're going to go through. It's important that you do not skip these steps, right? So what are we going to do? Start with a list of problems, narrow it down to 3 to 5. Does it solve a $10,000 problem? Does it have high frequency, high utility? And did you have at least 10 conversations with meaningful potential prospective customers so you can gather more insights as to, is this problem something that other people experience and are they willing to pay for something that you are thinking about presenting? All right, guys, hope you got a lot of value out of this. I'm looking forward to this series. I think you're going to love it. It's going to be more stuff just like this. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Go ahead and sign up for the early bird for our class. You can get access to learnwithcmh.com. That's learnwithcmh.com. We're going to be covering womb to tomb, everything you need to know to get your business off the ground and running successfully in the new year. So I will see you guys in the next one.